bought a pair of brand new jeans. They made me forget about what's underneath. What's underneath? People started to say real nice things. Thought maybe they changed how they used to think. They used to think. But after all, there's nothing left to say. They're old now. They still don't think I'm something. My brand new jeans won't make them come around. Maybe if I looked differently, I wouldn't need these brand new jeans. These brand new jeans. If I could inject some brand new jeans, pierce into my skin, into my bloodstream, maybe they like me. But after all, there's nothing left to say. They're old now. They still don't think I'm something. Brand new jeans won't make them come around. But after all, there's nothing left to say. They're old now. They still don't think I'm something. My brand new jeans won't make them come around.
Hello, my name is Mara Shore with Shore Solutions, and I am here today co-moderating with my partner in crime, the other half of Shore Solutions, my father and business partner, Jay Shore. And we are thrilled to have a very dear friend here with us today that we're going to be talking about a number of things that she does. So Dory Zukup is the founder and CEO of Inspiration Management, and Dory has such a wealth of knowledge that she is bringing to the table. But more importantly today, Dory, you're talking about how to differentiate.
You get a line, I'll get a pull, honey. You get a line, I'll get a pull, baby. You get a line, I'll get a pull. We'll go down to the crawdad hole, honey. Baby, mine. Hurry up, baby, slept too late, honey. Hurry up, baby, slept too late, baby. Hurry up, baby, slept too late. The crawdad man went past your gate, honey. Baby, mine. What you gonna do when the lake runs dry, honey? What you gonna do when the lake runs dry, baby? What you gonna do when the lake runs dry? Sit on the bank, watch the crawdads die, honey. Baby, mine. You get a line, I'll get a pull, honey. You get a line, I'll get a pull, baby. You get a line, I'll get a pull. We'll go down to the crawdad hole, honey. Baby, mine. Honey, baby, mine.
Hi, I'm Sunil Chillicurry from Houston, Texas for Fresh Dermatology. I'm a dermatologist, board certified, Mohs surgeon, and trained in laser surgery as well, similar to my friend here, Jason Emmer. And it's a real pleasure. It's so nice to actually get to interview and visit with somebody who's a friend and a colleague and an innovator, which is so fun.
That's very nice of you. I love being here. I love talking with you. You know we do so many great things together, so I'm excited to have this kind of flipped around with you being able to interview me and ask you anything that you want. Makes me a little nervous here. No, I'm kidding.
No, it's always so fun. And I know all of you guys at home, you know Jason Emmer, and he's just incredible. And he's out of Beverly Hills, California. You trained in a lot of advanced things, and even though you and I were board certified in dermatology, we've both gone on and done a lot more advanced things. Would you mind telling the audience a little bit about some of that advanced training? Because you're doing things that are just remarkable. Yeah, it's really actually great that you said that, because a lot of the stuff that I do, specifically with body shaping and contouring, we're doing, really defining type of liposuction. We're fixing botched surgeries. We're doing combinations of liposuction with tummy tucks and body lifts and chest implants in males and females, and just doing a lot of real extensive body and facial shaping, which people wouldn't think would normally come out of a dermatologist. But given that you did a fellowship in Mohs, I actually did a fellowship not directly in Mohs, but with a Mohs surgeon and another director. So I was doing Mohs the entire time, and lasers and skin cancer surgery, and then did another fellowship in liposuction and plastic surgery. So we had this really diverse education, which is really interesting. People don't think of dermatologists, but I always want to remind them that a dermatologist created tumescent anesthesia, 100%. which is basic form of doing liposuction. So they don't realize that in the 80s, revolutionized what we do. That was revolutionized. Actually, dermatologists revolutionized being able to do awake surgery, which led to us doing dermatology and Mohs. Exactly. Because then you could do huge reconstructions and flaps 100%. And all this stuff. So the advanced stuff we're doing now is really in the form of how do we get extreme changes, face and body. And that's kind of what I'm doing with myself and plastic surgery. You can't really do that alone. It's almost impossible. Some of these surgeries are 10 hours. Yes. But it's like running a marathon every day. It's 100%. Almost impossible. So, but we're doing some great stuff. Well, that's the fun part. And especially just like you said, when you train in both plastic surgery as well as reconstructive surgery, now you're putting that together with our basic knowledge of the skin, which I can tell you, when I was in plastic surgery, we didn't get that kind of training. We didn't really understand what's underneath the skin. So I trained at UCLA and really got to learn the basics in terms of the musculature, but not what's going on underneath the skin. So exactly what you're doing. What have you noticed that's new today that you would do today that you didn't do 3 years ago? Well, I look back. I did a lecture yesterday afternoon on liposuction, and unfortunately it was only 15 minutes, so I couldn't show kind of the transition over the years. But that's the PowerPoints that I'm making now, is what's happening as I've been doing lipo for 10 years now. Which is crazy, because I don't really have anything but a little bit of a gray in my beard. But I look at the pictures from even 5 years ago, and I'm like, wow, some of those results are what cool sculpting can do now. So you can get a really great improvement in some non-surgical options like cool sculpting, Vanquish. Now we have M-Sculpt, combination therapies, adding in radiofrequency, in getting fat reduction and some skin tightening, especially in patients that are athletic and have tighter skin. Some of the results I see from you, because you're in Texas, I'm in LA, the body shapes are a little bit different. A little bit different, a lot different. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm sorry for anyone in Texas, but in general, I look at some of the pictures and I'm like, and I like to too, but maybe I just work out a lot more, but I don't know. But there's some of like really hanging skin and some fat, and then I look at your pictures and it's like 3 pant sizes decreased from a non-invasive treatment, and it's amazing. So I look at my lipo results from years ago, and that's what I was getting. And I think, wow, non-invasives can do that, so why would I do surgery? So why go to me then to do surgery? So we've advanced it to the point where we're not just reducing fat, we're tightening the skin, we're creating athletic definition, hip bones, hips, shaping, contouring around the breast. I'm putting in implants in men to get lifting. We're defining the muscles. I'm even using fat and fillers to define the muscle areas, giving people more of that sculpted look, because I think what the traditional athletic male and female was 10 years ago is now different. It's totally evolving because of this like very high def lifestyle, the type of workouts people do, training programs, the diets and exercises. So now we're getting real sculpting results, and we're using fat and other things like threads to lift the skin and improve cellulite. So everyone wants everything now. It's not just fat. It's like skin, fat, cellulite. Overall, they want to look so much better. So the surgeries have kind of evolved, but the best thing is like then they can go to someone like you who doesn't do as much of the surgeries and
and even enhance it,
Right.
because you have all those non-invasive treatments. Yeah, and maintain, that's the other thing I was talking about. You know, outside the United States, where I learned a lot of these techniques, they do very aggressive approaches, and then you gain 5 or 10 pounds, or 5 years goes by and your skin sags a little bit.
Exactly.
I tell people you look like a Ninja Turtle if they gave you a six-pack, because it looks terrible, and you need to maintain that. And how do you do that with, if you have kids, a 14-hour day job, you know, all that type of things? Well, at least with diet and exercise, the best you can do, you can then go to you and get some Vanquish Excellence
100%.
combinations and at least maintain those now with the technologies we have, which you couldn't do before.
And that's the fun part as well. What we're noticing is as we do this cross referral, it's what we talked about yesterday. You know what you're really good at.
Yeah.
Refer to your friend who's really good at something else, or you can work together and then pair it. And so a lot of times we're sending people to Los Angeles to see Jason. He's going to do the high def, really incredible liposuction with the technique where he's defining the muscles and making people look that athletic. And then they'll come back to Texas and we can maintain them. We can use our technologies just like you have in your office.
Which I love, because I think traditionally in the past, a plastic surgeon or let's say a dermatologist would open a practice, and it was, we want to keep that person in the practice and do everything on our own. And you can't be good at everything. It's almost impossible. Like for me, my only surgery is lipo. But even myself, I have 2 plastic surgeons that do body with me, because we do lifting at the same time, we do tightening at that, we do implants. I wasn't trained in that, and even if I was, my expertise is the lipo and the fat grafting and the shaping. So to me, it's, you have to have this collaboration, and I think that's the way in which practices and things are going. The funny part about that is when you send that person to me, if they never thought about doing the non-invasive, now they're going to have to do it for their whole life. So you actually benefit more
100%.
out of me doing a surgery, because I only do it once.
We do the maintenance.
And then I send it to you and I'm like, you need to see him every month forever. They're like, forever? I'm like, forever. It's like getting your teeth cleaned or your hair done. So then they go to you and he's like, he said I need to see you forever.
Right.
Give me that monthly program, you know? And it's like, that's what you'd be doing. 100%. And so the collaboration is so much better. People do so much better when they collaborate with experts, you know?
100%. And I think you just pointed out exactly what the audience wants to know. We're always talking about what's the best for the patient. It's not about what's the best for our practice.
100%.
What can we do to make sure that you as a consumer at home is going to get the best results and maintain those results, because it's an investment, just like we've talked about in the past. You know, we've really talked about, hey, you know, you're going to come in and see me, you're going to spend X number of dollars, but now how do you maintain that investment? And I think that's the most important thing that we're doing, is really collaborating like that and making it even better. You know, we just have 2 minutes left. Is there anything that you see that you're really favoring more today than you did 3 years ago?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing right now is internal heating. I think the important things when it comes to doing liposuction properly, and I was showing pictures of this yesterday, is traditional approaches, unfortunately, just don't work as much anymore, especially if you're trying to get sculpting and defining and you want to tighten skin. Liposuction itself does not tighten skin, but adding internal heating or a little bit of skin removal at the same time does. So there's a trend now of doing treatments such as InMode Body Tight or Renuvion, which has evolved from something called Thermi-RF over time to internally heat the skin and get contouring. And what doctors don't know is the safety and the efficacy of that and how much you can push it. But now I've done probably 1,000 areas of Renuvion, and we're seeing like dramatic changes. I'm going to do a presentation this afternoon. It's just going to blow people away. No one's seen that. I can't even believe some of the results that I'm seeing of this, because we're really taking risks when you're internally heating, because you could get scar tissue, you could get infections, you can burn the skin, so you don't really know. But a lot of the technologies are so focused that they're just heating, and it's not damaging the surrounding tissue. So you're getting this immediate contraction, which people never saw before. So if somebody had, you know, really large arms, which I'm sure some of you see, or inner thighs, that really only could do surgery before, we now can do lipo and a little bit of heating, and they get at least a 50% improvement, and they're happy. And then the question will be, can you build on that in the future? Can you do multiple stage treatments where you reduce and heat, and heat, and then never have to cut?
Well, that'd be the advantage,
That's where I think the future is going, is with all these non-invasive treatments, and then you can give people who are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s the results of somebody in their 30s, potentially. That may be where it's going.
I love it. Well, listen, we're really excited to learn even more about what's going on in this world, and plastic surgery and aesthetic medicine. There's so much going on, and I'm looking forward to seeing you again in the future, and I'm looking forward to your talk this evening.
Thank you.
Thanks again for coming all this way.
Great to have you again. Thanks,
guys. It's a pleasure. So next, we're going to bring up Dr. Greg Chernov, and he's out of Santa Rosa, California, as well as Indianapolis, Indiana, and it's quite a different mix. How are you, Greg?
Good to see you.
Thank you so much for coming. I always love to visit with you, and we had the pleasure of spending yesterday afternoon together, and we got the chance to talk and learn even more. So, if you don't mind, tell the audience, where you're based out of. I was saying that I mentioned both in California as well as Indianapolis.
So for the last 25 years, I've had practices in Indianapolis and Santa Rosa. 4 years ago, we opened a regenerative medicine clinic in Xi'an, China.
Wow.
As well, with a population of 1.4 billion and a large aged population. The Chinese FDA has been much more forward-thinking than ours in this regard. But this whole field of cellular medicine, regenerative therapies, stem cell therapies, have been really evolving and growing exponentially. We had such evidence at the aesthetic show. We had a full day on these topics on Thursday, where so much information was shared.
Oh yes. And it continues to evolve. That's the crazy part.
It does. 20 years ago, in the areas of cellular biology, tissue culturing, we started out by using injectable fibroblasts, where we could take 3 millimeter biopsies, post-auricular tissue culture fibroblasts for re-injection. With improvements, the only problem with that technology was it took roughly 6 months to a year to grow anywhere of maybe 10 million cells. That process has been automated now, so we now have the ability of growing 1 billion cells within a month.
Wow! So that's a big change.
There is one of the other areas, improving patients' general well-being. So much science has gone into that. Nathan Bryan, a PhD, developed an oral form of obtaining nitric oxide into our bodies.
Okay.
3 scientists won the Nobel Prize in the early 90s for recognizing the value of nitric oxide in just about every metabolic reaction that occurs in the body. And so this has been really a tremendous way now. Our own nitric oxide decreases by 85% by the time we're 40.
Correct.
So we give all of our patients, surgical, non-surgical, cellular therapy patients, these nitric oxide lozenges. Stem cell therapy, even in topicals now, we're entering what we refer to as the 4th generation of products. At first there were the botanical additives, then we moved on to growth media, growth factors. Then we saw products that had very specific tissue factors and growth factors. There's a company now that identified our own stem cells at our hair follicles called LGR6 cells. And a Russian scientist determined then the topical peptides that they could put on to stimulate these.
Which is incredible.
So orally, topically, from an injectable standpoint and intravenous standpoint, you and Jason were just talking about fat and fat transfer. We've come to know now that our fat is such a rich source of our own stem cells, as is our bone marrow. But our bone marrow has roughly, about 1.5 million. Rather, our bone marrow has only about 80,000 stem cells per cc. Our bone marrow has about 1.5 million. So we're so indebted to Drs. Mark Berman and Elliot Lander and the Cell Surgical group for developing a tremendous way of harvesting 100 cc's of fat under a local anesthetic.
Incredible, right?
And developing stromal vascular fraction. But that may go away. The FDA has launched an action against them. It'll be a fight of a lifetime. If Mark and Elliot win, then the rules governing SVF will be wide open for patients. If it goes away, you'll hear a lot about exosomes, which I guess the best way to describe an exosome is it's the spitball of our cells. We know that our cells, as they're traveling, undergo phagocytosis and release small molecules that are very richly laden in messenger RNA, and other cells can pick these up. So exosomes come from amnions. A lot of amniotic topical products and injectables are available now for wound healing. Exosomes, we know, have the same homing capabilities of stem cells, and if SVF goes away, you'll hear a lot about exosomes over the next 10 years. So it's such an exciting field, and it's such an ever-growing field in the areas of wound healing, in the areas of aesthetics. We've been using stromal vascular fraction now to improve scar therapy. stretch marks. There are very few women around, without stretch marks. So we can incite an inflammatory response, perhaps with needle radiofrequency, and then we can inject directly SVF into these areas as we can with growth factors. So
very interesting.
It's really exploded, and it's become so popular.
So what I'm hearing, and maybe the audience will hear the same, is that there's so much more going on that we don't really know all the applications that we're going to be able to do with this.
We've really scratched the surface, of cellular therapies. What we've come to find with stromal vascular fraction are the functional improvements. With degenerative joints, we've seen tremendous results. Autoimmune diseases. I think medicine will change a lot. Disease states such as multiple sclerosis, diabetes, Parkinson's will change with the ability of utilizing our own tissue.
Interesting. Very interesting. And I think for the consumer at home, it's so interesting to see that we're not just talking about aesthetic medicine. Aesthetic medicine is also functional medicine, regenerative medicine, like Dr. Chernov is talking about. And that's going to be so incredible to see. We've been doing this in orthopedic surgery, plastic surgery. I know in 1988 or 89, we were doing stem cell growth to do guided bone growth for aplasia cutis and problems with the skull. And this has evolved so much that we're using it on a regular basis. You're using it in your office on a daily basis.
The applications of this will really be limited to our imagination, and with improvements in GMP products with big pharma, there will always be those products available.
Certainly.
But once we have the ability of utilizing our own tissue, I think more patients are interested in autologous forms of therapy.
And it's safer.
And it is safer. And I think more efficacious, more focused form of treatment and therapy. So again, it's such an exciting field and
very exciting.
Ever growing.
If you have to pick the top 3 things that you use regenerative medicine for on a daily basis in your office, what would you tell the audience your top 3 things are in your office?
I think number 1 is an anti-inflammatory benefit, number 2 to improve wound healing, and number 3, our functional capacity of patients has really increased dramatically.
Interesting. That's lovely. I mean, I'm just excited to see what's going on in this field, and we use it in a practical basis, even for ourselves. I know, we had this knee injury back in March, and I talked to a patient. He said, "Oh, you need to go get stem cell therapy." I said, "What do you know about stem cell therapy?" But his orthopedic was one of the pioneers, and says at that time they were taking the fat, like you described, taking it down, getting those stem cells out, and putting it into there.
Exactly, and patients, the internet has been so valuable in educating patients on autologous forms of therapies. Patients are starting to ask for these therapies now. And so if physicians or if care providers aren't doing these forms of treatment, they really should try to network with someone who is. Especially in the dermatology fields, I think we'll see the numbers of growth factor specific products really explode in the next decade.
For sure. I know Richard Fitzpatrick did such an amazing job bringing growth factors into the whole popular stream with Skin Medica. And now, like you said, we've got the next generation coming with Definage, where you're talking about the LR6 receptor being activated, so your own stem cells are doing the work, but you're not putting a stem cell on the patient. It's remarkable.
And it was, again, science that didn't exist before, and so that's, again, what we refer to then as the fourth generation of products. But Dr. Fitzpatrick, look how many dermatologists have played tremendous roles in
and it's a combination. And I think that's the beauty of the aesthetic show, is you're really seeing this combination therapy that's going on, innovative minds from every single aspect. So we have plastic surgery, facial, you're triple board certified, right? Plastic surgery, facial plastic surgery, and?
We're seeing patients and doctors, and as you said, the beauty of this show, the sharing of information without elbows in the air, and it's our patients that benefit from this.
100%.
This is the type of education that we didn't see 10, 20 years ago.
It was so much more territorial back in that time, and now we're talking about really collaborative medicine, and I think that's absolutely fantastic. And like I was saying, between your facial plastics, plastic surgery, general surgery, we have gynecology talking about functional medicine, we have dermatology talking about the skin,
and now internal medicine,
family practice.
Sure.
I mean, it's incredible.
I think we're seeing a lot more communication now and referral between specialties as well. So
I think it's going to benefit the best person out there, which is you, the consumer. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you so much for spending time with me. It's a pleasure. Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Have a safe travel. I look forward to your talks later today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you again. So we're coming back to you from the Aesthetic Show of 2018, really seeing so many incredible changes that are going on today. I have the opportunity now to talk with Dr. Charles Runnels, and for those of you at home who don't know this name, it should be a household name because you've heard about the vampire facial, vampire facelift, the O shot, the P shot. How are you, Dr. Runnels?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for coming. It's a real pleasure.
It's an honor to be here.
No, it's an honor. And you tell me, there's so much going on, and now we get to talk about the fun stuff. We're going to talk about sex.
Yes.
Right? So tell me, what do you see as the greatest change that you've seen over the last 1 or 2 years?
So it's really it's both a cultural and a scientific change. The cultural part is that people, I think, are finally embracing the idea that what Emerson said, which is beauty is the scaffolding of love.
It is.
And aesthetics is code word for love in relationships. So that means it's not just about the face. It's about the face, it's about the genitalia. That's the cultural part. The science part is that we now have not just the mechanical means, we have such expert surgeons here, but we have the biological means to go at the cellular level and rejuvenate tissue.
Correct. And it's incredible. You have revolutionized this field talking about non-surgical approaches to what used to be only a surgical result.
Well, you're kind. It's this whole culture of the people you see here. It's the group that we have, the providers that are licensed by our group. It's all the scientists. It's just a perfect storm is what it is. But I do feel grateful that I happen to be in the eye of the storm sometimes.
Well, sometimes we say it's by chance, but a lot of times we make that road come to us, right?
Well, maybe so.
Well, it's lovely. Have you noticed a greater public awareness of all the things that we're talking about in regenerative medicine?
You know, I'm from South Alabama, the Bible Belt, and I'm proud of that. And I can remember, I'm almost 60, I can remember as a child when people carried their New Testament. Right. That's a good thing.
Exactly.
But now people carry their 50 Shades of Grey.
and they're called 44 too.
and the science, so the sex revolution of the 60s was, it's okay for women to have sex. The revolution now, it goes all the way back to the sutras.
Certainly.
3,000 years ago, the Indians wrote about it. The best sex book ever written. But now, in the 50 Shades of Grey era, it's okay to want to have good sex, even if that means asking your doctor, help me. And it means not just making this beautiful, but becoming healthy and functional in every part of our body, even in the intimate areas.
Have you noticed a change between what men want versus what women want in that sexual arena?
Yes, well, yes and no. In both areas, they both need to have the idea that sex is not some magic thing you chase independently. It's like happiness. It evolves out of other things that you do. And in the same way, good sex evolves out of good health, but that includes health of the genitalia. So the difference is there are different problems. It's basically the same kind of tissue, but where with men, you might have the problem of function. With women, the dysfunction takes a different form, as in pain or dryness, where with men it has more to do with blood flow, but blood flow is important to women. So they're the same, but they're different.
Interesting. And then if you don't mind telling the audience, describe what the O shot is, because I don't think that many people at home understand that.
Yes, so the O shot it's the idea of taking what's been used in wound care and orthopedics for 15 years. Every professional athlete knows about it. Using the growth factors in your blood that you would normally use to heal tissue. And then instead of applying that to heal the hard to heal cartilage of a knee, well, maybe it might be useful to heal the intimate areas of a woman, to help with continence and to help with orgasm and to help with some serious diseases, dermatological diseases like lichen sclerosis. Now, it's a pretty outrageous name, but that's on purpose because it makes people look at it, it makes the press talk about it, which forces doctors to talk about it. You realize that many amazing physicians are still a little uncomfortable about talking about sex.
A lot, not just a few. Many.
Yes, and so having a swell where the patients ask, doctor, slow down and talk to me about this. That's part of the reason for the outrageous name.
I love it. And even just making that arena in your office more comfortable about it. It's interesting to me when my wife, who we're best friends, we've been best friends for 20 years, never even approached the subject until we saw your O shot, we talked about doing vaginal health. She says, can I be part of that study? And I said, do you have problems at home? And she didn't tell me until she happened to be reading the protocol.
what I hear, and I've lectured in New Delhi, and people think this is something that's only for the most outrageous parts of some most outrageous culture.
Los Angeles,
no,
you're saying?
It's actually, I was not going to say names, but it's actually an intimate part. I mean, some of the most conservative cultures wrote the best sex book because it's about relationships and fighting to preserve that relationship by keeping the health of your partner. Right. And so, yes, and what's tragic is, as you've mentioned, only about 14% of women will ever have a conversation with their doctor, all by research about sex, even though close to 50% of them have problems. And when the woman finally asks the question of her physician, the chances are he or she will change the subject, the doctor will, after the first question. And so part of the outrageousness of some of the names I use is to force the conversation.
I love it.
And the other good part of it is that 10 years ago, we did not have the tools. Part of the reason, these are good doctors. They want to make people well. But part of the reason they were uncomfortable was they didn't have the tools we have now. Now we have all these tools that we can actually help people in ways we couldn't before.
I love it. I love it. So if you don't mind, we're going to close with one thing.
Yes.
Would you tell the audience, what are your top 3 sex tips?
Okay, top 3 sex tips. First of all, don't chase sex with a one thing thing. Think of it as a system. If you're trying to improve your cardiovascular system, that involves lungs, it involves anaerobic threshold, muscle function, all these different things. For example, if you're trying to fix your erectile dysfunction with a pill without paying attention to cardiovascular health. So number 1, maintain your most excellent health. Number 2, it really is an emotional bond, and those who make it into something else, there's pleasure for a while, but there's, as the sutras concludes, at the end of the sutras, which is this thick, I highly recommend, that could be tip number 4, is read it. They wrote it 3,000 years ago and it's still around. But one of the things is that a deep relationship that's based on honesty is one of the best aphrodisiacs there can be. And honesty demands courage.
I love it.
That's what keeps us. If you're not telling the truth, it means you're afraid.
Yep. Good communication.
So, thank you very much, sir.
It's a real pleasure.
It was an honor
Thank
to
you
be
so
here.
much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Look forward to seeing more from you this afternoon.
Thank you.
Thanks again. So we're back to you. We're from the Aesthetic Show 2018, really getting to talk about innovation and experts here. We're going to be cutting to a video from Paula DeMarco, and she's going to be talking a little bit more about what you can learn at home.
My name is Mara Shore, and I'm a partner in Shore Solutions, along with my partner in crime and father, Jay Shore. We are here today and so incredibly excited to speak with Paula DeMarco Young of Young Medical Spa. Not only is she involved with Young Medical Spa along with her husband, the medical director, Dr. Thomas Young, where Paula wears so many hats in the practice. Paula also has a podcast called It's a Young Thing. Absolutely one of my favorites. I listen to it regularly, so it's always great to catch up with friends and have a minute to hear more about what it is that you're doing with the podcast. And can you tell us, Paula, what made you decide to start the podcast, and tell us a little more about what it is, who it stars, and all of that good stuff.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you so much. It's nice talking with you guys today, and thank you for having me. It's a Young Thing podcast started just out of love with our practice with my husband. We've been in practice for 14 years, and I'm a nurse, he's a physician. And we found out that we were just answering the same questions over and over and over again when it came to consultations. And I wanted to try to make people's consultations a little bit easier, so I decided to record a podcast series on Botox, the difference between Botox and dermal fillers, like that. And I put that episode actually on the webpage. And the reason why I tried that is because I'm thinking on an SEO. I'm also the social media marketer for our practice as well as a registered nurse.
Of course you are.
Yeah, I do it all. And I wanted to keep people on our website longer than, say, somebody in my general area. So by recording a podcast on, say, the differences between injectable products, I embedded that podcast actually on the webpage. And what I found is that it increased our SEO reduced our bounce rate. We had a higher retention rate on our website, and it also resulted in patient consultation increases. So I found, wow, you know, these people are getting the information they're looking for, or maybe too afraid to ask. They're getting it for free, and now they're ready to come in and schedule a consultation. So it just kind of went from there. It started out just being educational audio clips, and now I've gotten to the point where I'm interviewing you guys and your contribution to aesthetic practices. I've interviewed a lot of the esteemed faculty of the aesthetic show, and I get to interview people from other areas of life that help someone become their best self. I know I like to interview my husband on some of the procedure that he does, because some people are really afraid of a procedure, or they're nervous about a procedure, and when they hear the doctor talking about it, it really does make them feel more confident to come in for a consultation.
Exactly.
Oh, that's wonderful, Paula. We have been guests on your podcast, and we are very much appreciative of that. And we have also been fellow colleagues here at the Aesthetic Show for many, many years, and I'm proud to say that as a colleague, I remember probably the one that cheered and screamed the loudest when you were listed as the Nurse of the Year back 1 or 2 years ago. And we were also proud of that. Can you share some of the new innovative things that you do in your practice?
Well, the podcast thing is definitely the newest technological thing that we do from a marketing point of view. But my husband and I really enjoy coming to the Aesthetic Show. This is our 12th year. You know, it's a 12-year-old show. We've been coming every year for 12 years. And every year we seek out new technologies and treatments and procedures that we want to bring back to our patients. My husband is really skilled at fat removal, fat moving treatments, anything that has to do with fat. You know, liposuction, smart lipo, in-mode body tight. He does natural breast augmentations, Brazilian butt lifts. So we're always looking for that type of equipment that can help make his procedures go a little bit smoother, or maybe that one problem patient that the device that we have just doesn't quite work for them, and we need something to fill that gap. So the Aesthetic Show's a great place for that. I mean, after 12 years, we don't run out of things to buy.
What would you say the secret to success in your practice has been?
I would probably say being educated is the most important thing. Always learning from others. I really like the lectures here because somebody's always doing something really cool and really unique, or something that intrigues you, and you just want to find out a little bit more about it and see if maybe that's the path you want to go. I always tell people, it's like, you know, as your laptop gets outdated every 3 years and you're finding yourself getting a new laptop or a new smartphone every year, technology in aesthetic medicine goes right down that path. It's constantly changing, constantly evolving, and there's newer and greater things always coming out. And if you don't stay on top of that, either on this, you know, amazing trade show floor that we have here, or some of the lectures that are here, the sponsored lectures, you don't know what's going on and what's coming.
Exactly.
In conclusion, please allow the audience and the viewers to know that the pearls and the takeaways, many people just come for the exhibits and the exhibit hall to see what you can purchase, but what's so very, very near and dear to us, and you've been on my faculty many, many times on practice management, can you share with the people that are listening the wonderful ideas and takeaways of why the Aesthetic Show is so important for the business side of medicine?
Well, there's something here for everybody, Jay. I mean, my husband and I have brought almost our entire staff here many years, from our office managers to our estheticians to our physician extenders. There is something here for everyone, and it doesn't even matter what specialty of medicine that you're in. It's a very open group with open communication. It's very sharing, and it is just a very giving type of community.
Yes.
Well, we look forward to seeing you for many, many more years to come. It has been an honor and a pleasure being affiliated and associated with you, both you and Dr. Tom Young. Thank you very much for the opportunity to interview you, Paul.
Thank you for having me, Jay and Mara.
Absolutely. It's always a pleasure.
I know. I love seeing you guys.
Thank you so much for coming back and joining us at the Aesthetic Show 2018. You got to hear from some of the real innovators here, and I'm excited to introduce you to my friend, colleague, and sometimes mentor as well, Greg Buford. Greg, you're out of Denver. If you don't mind, will you tell us a little bit about your practice?
Sure. My name is Greg Buford. I'm a plastic surgeon in Denver, Colorado. My practice is entirely aesthetic. My surgical practice focuses predominantly on breast surgery, a little bit on body contouring, and then a lot of facial injectables as well too. But the big aspect of my practice that really differentiates it is the value placed on surgical nutrition. I think I don't want to steal your thunder.
No, exactly.
You're a better moderator than I am.
No,
but
not at all.
That's what we're going to be talking about.
But the fun part is when I got to, we ordered your book on Amazon. It's incredible. And the only thing I need to do is I need to have Dr. Buford actually sign my book and give me an autograph as well. But would you mind telling the public, what is it about surgical nutrition? What got you into that area to really develop that area and revolutionize what you can do in plastic surgery?
Sure. Yeah, so I was born and raised in Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon is an area that's very, very focused on good nutrition. The key thing really is looking at how that can influence our surgical patients and how it can influence the healing. So what I looked at is if you walk in if you walk in a lot of these rooms now, they're filled with technology, but they're really not filled with the basics. And the basics are, how do we heal? Okay, so how do we heal? And so what I looked at is, focusing more on nutrition, we can actually instill the building blocks for better healing and really start at a primary level. So that's really kind of how I started there.
Well, that's so interesting, though. And what have you noticed in terms of the surgical nutrition? Have your patients been happier patients, both short-term and long-term? Is there any difference at all?
Oh, it's a big difference. I mean, and I work with a lot of the bodybuilding community, and you notice that a lot of those patients are on high protein diets, and really watching what they eat. What I've noticed when I do my surgery, when I do my blepharoplasty, when I do my breast augmentations, that those patients, they come back in and they're literally weeks ahead in terms of how they're healing.
I love it.
And so I haven't done any studies to really compare and contrast, because none of my patients will actually electively eat poorly, and that wouldn't make any sense. But the patients, when they do eat well, though, I have noticed a big difference. Lower complication rate, and happier patients as well too. And overall, it's actually not even just the results. It's also to the experience. Their healing experience has actually been a lot smoother, less swelling, less inflammation, and so forth. So it really does make a huge difference.
That's wonderful. So do you recommend, so one of the talks that we gave yesterday, I actually gave a talk, the title is Just Say No.
Right.
And talking about the mistakes that we've made or something that I would do a little bit different.
Right.
What have you noticed that you would change differently over the last 5 years, or even the past year?
You mean in terms of my practice?
In terms of your surgical nutrition, in terms of the surgeries that you would do, or where would you turn somebody away?
Actually, to your last question though, when would you turn someone away? What I've noticed is we don't say no enough. Okay, we don't say no enough, and that's really important. Because if you have a patient that you know is not going to be, or you assume that it's not going to be as compliant as they could be from the get-go, and is not going to adhere to good nutrition, is not going to manage themselves well, both not only after surgery, but also too before surgery as well too, you're not going to get the results. And the problem is good or bad, those patients, all of them, are a walking billboard. So when they're walking around, I mean, they're basically showcasing 100%. Your results.
100%. And I'm glad that you said that, because I think one of the most important things is really talking about a patient relationship. It's not a one and done. It's not come in for one surgery and be done with everything. We're talking a long-term relationship. And one of the things that we say in our practice at Refresh Dermatology is we're going to grow old together, but nobody's going to know. So it's a lifelong commitment to what we have to each other, and really making sure that it's going to be the best for you, the patient at home. And I love that you said the same thing. Really, it's talking about this experience, the relationship, what makes somebody keep coming back, not just for your surgery, but to maintain what you've done in the surgery.
Right.
Have you noticed? Go ahead.
Well, what I was going to say is, with it, the thing that I really like as well too is, I start these patients off on good nutrition, a variety of tips around the time of surgery. And what's interesting is a lot of those patients actually will pass along a lot of that information to their family members. They'll come back years later and they'll say, I'm doing the protein shakes that you introduced to me. I'm actually, my family's doing them, I'm doing them, and this is way far out of surgery. And so it's really great. So I kind of cheat, and I not only trying to kind of get them instilled into a good nutritional plan around the time of surgery, but I also try to give them some good life lessons as well too. And that's in the end, that's really a great thing, because talking about family, you know, you keep your patients happy, you give them great results, and you give them continuity of care, you provide a great experience. They come back and they refer their friends and family to you as well too. And plus they're more fun to work with as well too.
Well, that's what I say when we look at our schedule on a daily basis.
Right.
We're really getting ready to see our friends and chat and learn about where they've been, new experiences that they've been going through, just like visiting with you today. It's so fun.
Right, right.
I'm going to ask one last question as we close out. If you have to pick one nutritional, what's the highest nutritional value that you get out of a product?
God, that's a really good question. I would say that there's not really one. I'd say if I did have to pick one thing, I would say when you look at anything from a nutritional standpoint, look at how clean it is. Look at how basic it is, because some of the most healthy things are the most simple things. Look at the ingredients. If you can't pronounce something, it's the old saying, you know, if you don't know what an ingredient is, it's probably not that good for it. That's not always true, because there's a lot of fancy names for vitamins and supplements and so forth. But for the most part though, if you look at the ingredients and there's 50 different ingredients, choose the thing that has maybe 2 ingredients. Choose the thing that has as basic of a profile as possible.
Thank you so much. I always learn so much from you.
Always a pleasure,
Looking forward to seeing you a little bit later today, and we'll look forward to learning more about nutrition and what we can do to change our practice in the office.
Perfect.
Thanks
Sounds
again
good.
for your time.
It's a pleasure.
And we're going to be now cutting from the Aesthetic Show live here. We're going to be going to an interview with Dr. Dory Sukup, and let's learn a little bit more about what we have to hear from the audience here.
Hello, my name is Mara Shore with Shore Solutions, and I am here today co-moderating with my partner in crime, the other half of Shore Solutions, my father and business partner, Jay Shore. And we are thrilled to have a very dear friend here with us today that we're going to be talking about a number of things that she does. So Dory Sukup is the founder and CEO of Inspiration Management, and Dory has such a wealth of knowledge that she is bringing to the table. But more importantly today, Dory, you're talking about how to differentiate yourself with really authority marketing and how to really make yourself stand out from the crowd.
Yes.
So in today's competitive world, tell me a little bit about that differentiation.
It's true. Today, there is a med-spa, there's a practice, plastic surgery on every corner.
Yes.
And more likely, consumers are to find you online than anywhere else. So they go searching, and that finger, you know, is very fast, right?
Yes.
So how do you differentiate yourself from basically an online presence?
Right.
And often, websites are nothing but an online brochure. It looks exactly, one website looks exactly like the other.
Right.
And as an entrepreneur and as a founder of a business, you want to attract people. And the best way to attract people is to practice authority marketing and have people be drawn to you.
Yes.
So how do you do that? Or what is authority marketing? Actually, not a lot of people speak about this topic.
Right, so tell me, what is authority marketing?
So authority marketing is when you position yourself or your practice as the experts, as the authority. And people know that you are the influencer, you are the expert in the community. And one best way to do that is the things that we teach is to become published, to become a speaker, and to truly position yourself as an expert so people are drawn to you.
Yes.
And often everybody copies everybody and they do the same type of marketing. And it just doesn't work anymore. You have to be different.
Right, right.
You know, Dory, authority marketing is a new term. And every day we learn different terminology in this business. As a fellow colleague, you work very heavily in the spa management business. We work heavily in the medical practice management business. We have shared some clients in the past. We lecture at a lot of the same conferences together. Authority marketing, when we try to promote services for our client base, and I know that you do very well in your publications and everything, how does somebody contact a professional like yourself for authority marketing? How do you get the name out of what real authority marketing is? Because we all know there's all types of marketing companies out there, but there's only one Inspiration company out there.
Yes, actually, I love this part of our business, and we help all sorts of spas and med spas, entrepreneurs that really want to be the authority in their community. And the best way to do it, actually, there are several ways to do it, but one way is to become a speaker. As you know, you speak all the time. Mara speaks all the time. When someone sees you speak, it makes such a big difference. It gives you that authority. And one way to do it, and easy way to do it, is to start doing videos like we're doing on this show, right?
Yes, yes.
And one way to really position yourself as an expert is to start getting in front of the camera and start doing little mini clips to tell the visitors that are coming to your website that you are the authority. But you know, not many people do that. Not many people get in front of a camera and actually speak.
So do you think that somebody needs a big fancy camera and a big fancy studio in their practice in order
Not
to
at
do
all.
this? What do you, I mean, what are
Not
your
at
tips
all.
for the best way to take a quick video that they're going to be comfortable with?
Yes, the quickest way to start, actually, it could be as easy as using an iPhone. And a good way to practice with that is just to buy you a nice little tripod, put it right in front of your desk, and just start speaking. The thing is, they are experts.
Yes.
It's all in their heads.
Yes.
So all they have to do is sit there and just pick one topic, or just take a product, or take a treatment that they are experts at, and just start speaking about it.
Yes.
That way, when visitors come to their websites and they can see all these videos, or they can go to their YouTube channel and see all these videos, automatically the consumer is thinking they are an expert because they know what they're talking about.
And do you find that the more that they do it, the easier it will get for them, the more comfortable they'll be?
You know, it's funny, we have hundreds of videos on my YouTube channel. And I go back sometimes and I look at past ones. You see me with short brown hair.
Right, yes. The hair transition is always fun. As women, it's always fun to see our hair transition through the years.
It is so much fun. But you know, my very first video, I was not comfortable in front of the camera.
Right.
But now, you know, I have a little studio in our office, and I just, whenever I'm ready to do a video, I just get in front of the camera and do it. And sure enough, the more you do it, the better you get. It just becomes natural after a while.
It does.
No, that's true, Dory, but you know, people like yourself and like us, we've been doing this a long time. We've been speaking for a long time in front of very small audiences, unfortunately, sometimes, and many times, but many times very large audiences.
Right.
When you first get started in there, you and I both know there are many people that are so scared, the heart starts pounding, they don't have the professional wherewithal. What guidance can you give that person that basically either is a doctor in the medical practice that has not yet hired you as a professional, to have that comfort and ease, because you can know your material and still not have the physical wherewithal and presence to be able to create good marketing?
So there's coaching that we go through that we can help them create that presence in front of the camera so they are seen as the professional and the expert. But actually, a very easy tip, and how I got started actually years ago in doing videos, is I would script out my thought process of what points do I want to make to the audience that I'm speaking to. And once you script out your points, you could use a monitor when you first get started, a teleprompter actually, if when you first get started. And you can start with that. I don't use a teleprompter anymore. I can just get in my studio now and just give my spiel.
You got it.
But that's a good way to start. And then we teach them on their presence, the way they, like you're sitting in a perfect stand,
thank you.
Like you are. And it's so important because you want people to see you in a way where you are camera ready.
Yes.
But you know what? In today's world, people like real too. So it doesn't have to be so perfect. I mean, we have a great production team here to do this show.
Yes.
But if you're at home, all you need really, again, is a phone or a little camera, and just start doing it. And the more you do it, the better you're going to get.
Yes.
In closing, Dory, we know that you're a very well published author. I've read some of your writings, but you also help other people publish. Can you give us a concept on how do you get started in writing and helping others in getting their message across in print?
That's a great question. Actually, how I started writing is started doing articles at first. When you're trying to write a book all in the beginning, it's not going to happen. So like when I published my first book, I took a series of articles that I had written over the years and just went in and modified them. And before you know it, you have an entire book, right? So this is a great way to do it. But what's nice about having a published book is it puts you on a whole different level than other people. Because when people know you're a published author, it just puts you in a totally different class of positioning. But not only...
Can I help you brag?
Yes, please do.
And show...
Actually, this is my favorite seminar that I do.
All right. I'm going to help Dory brag here for a minute and show how she helps other people to become published as well. Naturally, Mara and I get published every month in major articles, but how do you go about helping your client base do wonderful books like this?
Yeah. So we have this site they can go to. It's called becomepublished.com, where we actually have a seminar and we help people, professionals, entrepreneurs, doctors, actually become published authors. And it's an amazing event. Everybody that comes to it and publishes their book rave about it. And I would love to help our audience here become published authors.
I love that concept. I absolutely love that concept. So it's becomepublished.com.
Yes,
I love that.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dory Sukup, CEO and founder of Inspiration. Thank you so much, Dory, for being.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so
Mara,
much, Dory.
Always a pleasure.
Welcome back to the Aesthetic Show 2018. I'm really pleased to be here with you, the audience, and really talking with innovators in the field. I have the honor and the pleasure of talking and introducing one of our colleagues here, Dr. Kian Carmini, and he is a facial plastic surgeon out of Beverly Hills, California, and really an innovator in threads. You're doing so much with the non-surgical facelift that in the past we couldn't even talk about it, and I just learned recently, and if you don't mind sharing with the audience, what is your role with threads?
Yeah, so great to be here. Thank you so much. This is a really amazing opportunity. So I'm so excited to be here at the Aesthetic Show. It's an amazing show. And the thread lift has been booming, and we've been seeing this over the last 3 years. I'm the medical director of Nova Threads, which is a PDO thread brand based out of Miami, and we were one of the first to launch in the United States, and we've seen an incredible boom in threads in all different kinds of practices, and we're seeing it even more at the shows as well.
Wonderful, and I know it's very innovative. So in the past when we were doing threads, this was maybe 12, 13 years ago, we were putting in metal threads. Would you mind telling the audience what's the difference between those complications that we used to get and how we can prevent those?
Absolutely. Threads got a really bad reputation in this country because, as Dr. Chillicuri mentioned, they were permanent. And so if there was an issue with them or if they moved, then you kind of had to have them removed surgically. Now, the big boom, the big innovation in technology is that the threads are dissolvable. And in fact, not only that, but they actually stimulate type 1 collagen while they're dissolving to get a sustained effect of the threads. That's really where we've seen the most amazing innovation in them.
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
And that stimulation of the collagen is what's so remarkable, because we see 3 months out, 6 months out, 1 year out, that the skin texture and quality continues to improve. And that's the fun part, because you at home, yes, you're getting this procedure and it takes an hour and a half, but you're seeing the results that continue to improve for 1 year out. It's remarkable.
Up until now, we've not been able to actually lift tissues in the office. All we've been able to do is improve skin, fill, but now we can actually lift the tissues with these dissolvable threads that have little barbs or cones on them, and this has been really tremendous and a game changer.
That's wonderful. Now, I know there's a lot of different threads that are out there, and so you as a consumer, is there a certain brand that you need to work with? You know, we talked about Nova Threads, which are remarkable, and I love that you guys have the best safety efficacy out of all the threads that are out there that are PDO threads. We have the InstaLift, we have a bunch of different things coming on the market, and I know that you're in the lab quite often. Is there a difference between a cone or a barbed thread?
So yes, there are two different types of thread systems that are cleared for use here in the United States. There is the PDO, or the Nova Threads brand, which is the first brand and the most popular brand here in the United States. There's also a PLLA, PLGA thread called the Silhouette InstaLift, which has dissolvable cones on a dissolvable string. And both actually are very effective, and both have a role. I use both in my practice, and it just is a little bit different in the technique on how to do them, but they are both incredible in terms of what results they can deliver.
Wonderful, I love it. That's the best part. And so are you noticing that with the social media that's coming out, is there a difference in what we're able to show the patients now?
Absolutely, yeah. With social media, I mean, people are getting more and more awareness about threads as being an option for the procedures, and the thread procedures are actually very kind of great for social media because visually you can see what's happening with the lifting of the tissues, and the results really are instantaneous. And so that's what people want on social media is instant results.
Exactly. Is there anybody that you would say is not a candidate for threads?
Yeah. So it's important to position threads properly in one's practice. They're not an alternative to fillers. They're not an alternative to surgery. They are simply an adjunct in our aesthetic practice for people that have just a little, mild to moderate descent of their midface or of their lower third. And so it really is, just like in everything that we do, is up to us to market these responsibly and to select proper patients for the highest satisfaction.
You're exactly right, and I'm glad that you brought that up. We were talking about this earlier. What's the best way to get a result? And just like Dr. Kermani said, it's really about picking the right patient. So when you go interview your plastic surgeon, you go interview your cosmetic dermatologist, it's a two-way street. Number one, that person has to have the proper aesthetic knowledge to say no in certain cases, or say, you know what, you asked about this, but you might benefit more from this.
Absolutely, and that's why these types of conferences are so important, because we are all here teaching each other, learning from each other, and it's so important for all of our success to position these things properly.
I love it. Well, I'm really excited to learn more from you today. Is there anything that you want to leave as a parting word with the audience? Anything new that we should be expecting?
So the technology in threads continues to improve. They're getting better and better, and we're constantly, like you said, in the lab developing the latest types of technologies. So stay tuned. There are a lot of exciting things ahead.
Wonderful. Well, listen, really a pleasure. Always nice to talk to you and learn more from you, and
Likewise.
I look forward to seeing you later at the meeting.
Thank you so much.
Thanks again for your
Thanks.
time. Well, it's a pleasure. So we're here sitting with Darren Siegel, and we wanted to learn a little bit more. If there are, what are the two things your website must do to really be profitable? Hey, how are you?
Nice to see you.
You're doing well?
Yeah, how about you?
For coming out. Hey, listen, I really appreciate your coming in. I know that I've had the opportunity to actually get to personally meet him in our office, and so Darren is world-renowned in talking about social media, website presence, SEO, and really how to market and not just gain patients, but really take care of your patients.
Right.
Are you noticing anything different in terms of what you should really do to make your website more profitable?
Well, that's the key right there, is make it profitable. There's a difference between a website and a website that makes you money. And most people think, I just need a website, but they're not really thinking, what do I need that to do for me? And they're not focusing on the correct things that are really going to make that patient come in the door. There's two things a website has to do. A website has to attract patients, and a website has to convert patients, and it has to do it very quickly. When people get to your website, they make a decision within 2.9 seconds.
Wow.
And that decision is, do I stay or do I leave? If they leave, they're never going to become a patient, they never give you money.
Right.
So the first thing they see has to make them do exactly what you just did, say, wow, this doctor looks great, especially if it's a referral. If a referral gets your name and they go to your website, all they're trying to do is verify that what their friend said was accurate. You got to go to Dr. Chillicuri, he's the best. Right. They go to it and they go, wow, this guy looks great. I don't care if the patient leaves that first screen. All I care is, are they calling my client?
Right.
Because that's how I'm judged. And that's, as businessmen and women, which doctors are, that's all they should care about, is my website working? You don't want people really spending time on your website, going over all the pages. Your goal is to get that phone to ring. And so if you want to do that, you want to do that as quickly as possible.
Well, and I agree with you, and I think it's interesting, just like you said. So we always talk about, in the aesthetic medicine business side of it, what is the ROI? Like, how do we measure an ROI? You have a great marketing firm, and you really do. I mean, it's amazing work, because I know you work with Dr. Lology, and like I said, we're talking about working with Darren as well, so we can get our website upgraded and really, like you said, make it a wow. Have you noticed that your physicians are asking, what is this search engine optimization? Do I really need it? Do I need to spend money on it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. What you have to do in terms of search is 100% dependent on the competition.
Okay.
If you're in a big town like Houston, there's a lot of competition. If you're in a small town like Galveston, where I live, there's not a lot of competition. You wouldn't have to do much. It used to be you could build a website and do the right things, have good content, and get to the top and stay there for years without anyone knocking you off. Those days are gone. Now it's a matter of being the loudest kid in class, raising your hand to Google, saying, pick me, look at me, all the time, if you're in a competitive area, in order to get Google to like you. And you do it through your content on your website, through social media, through reviews, which are critical, through local directory listings, and through more advanced SEO like blogging and link building and content optimization and content dissemination if you're in a competitive area.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like it's a lot more than what we can do by ourselves. I know in the past, especially physicians, we think we can get through med school and we're like, oh, I can make a website, and yes, we can make a basic website, but it's not doing what Darren is teaching us, which is really all the intricacies and understanding how the Google formula works. How do we get our patient reviews? How do we go ahead and do that search engine optimization? What are you noticing different that you would do today versus even a year ago?
Well, I think the most important thing is consistent content additions. And this, you don't need an SEO company to do. We write content if a doctor wants to pay us to write content, but I never ever recommend it. And it's only the doctors that say, I'm not going to write content, we'll pay you to write content, that we'll do it for. But my opinion is, you should write your own content. I know nobody wants to write their own content because they think it's difficult, but the thing is, you don't have to look anywhere. You don't have to look in any book. You don't have to look on the internet. You don't even have to look in any pamphlet. The best thing you could do for your website is write out 10 questions for every service offering you have or every procedure that you do, and then write out your answer exactly the way you give it. You guys have your sales pitch. When someone asks you a question about aesthetics, you say the same thing every day, all week, all year. You've said it hundreds of times. Get that down on paper or get it on the internet, on your website, by procedure page.
Love it.
That is the best thing you could do because Google wants unique local content. They're looking for the best local answer to someone's question, and the more Q&As you have per procedure, and hopefully you have a good website company that's going to code them properly, the more Google's going to like you, hands down. There's no magic bullet to search engine optimization. You have to work hard.
I love it.
And writing your own content is just the smartest thing you could do.
I love it. Listen, I took that down myself. I'm writing 10 questions for each procedure.
Well,
we have to do that.
In Houston, you might want to do more.
More.
10 is a starting point.
It's a starting point.
Yeah.
Really appreciate your knowledge. I know that you have a lot of online presence, and if you don't mind sharing, is there a way that the consumer or the audience can get a hold of you?
Oh, absolutely. So you could always go to advicemedia.com. You could see our whole portfolio. We work with over 1,800 practices to really create web presences that give doctors freedom to really focus on their life, focus on their practice. We're taking a lot of the worry out of their hands. You can email me directly at Darren, D-A-R-R-E-N .Siegel, S-E-I-G-E-L, at advicemedia.com. And you can also call me directly at 435-575-7470. We'd be happy to take a look at what you're doing, give you advice. If you're doing great stuff already, I'll tell you maybe how to make it a little better. If we can help, I'll give you some options there too.
Hey, really appreciate your time. Thanks again, Darren.
Thank you very much.
Look forward to seeing you not just here, but in Houston as well.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye.
Thanks. So we're going to close out this morning session at Aesthetic Show Live. I'm Sunil Chillicuri, Houston, Texas for Fresh Dermatology. I really want to thank all of our interviewees, and it's just amazing to learn the innovations that are going on today. So we appreciate your joining us. Please come back and join us at 12 o'clock today, and we're going to have a whole nother panel of experts talking about what you can learn from them, as well as what you can do at home to improve our aesthetic lives.